This has to be one of the number one comments that I've been receiving over the last few weeks. Honest question, who's going to enforce this order? And this is in regards to the Elon Musk messing around in the Department of Treasury. We've got a federal judge that said, you need to knock it off. If you pulled anything, you need to destroy it. We need briefings. We need hearings. There's actually a protocol and procedure we need to go through here. And the question is, well, what happens if Mr. Trump decides, well, I'm not going to comply with that federal order. I don't really care what the court said. I'm going to do whatever I want. We're going to be going down a road that is going to be pretty rough if that does happen. Could it happen? It's possible. Will it happen? Just don't know. The only way to really assess what could happen is to take this time to call your representatives, your senators, or anybody's representative and senators. This doesn't have to be yours. Could be the Judiciary Committee. Hello. Chuck Grassley, how's it going? And you need to call them up and say, hey, I'm just curious. I'm not trying to be political here, but what happens if Mr. Trump actually does violate the Constitution? And you see that he has violated the Constitution, and there's no doubt about it. And the way that he's violated it is by not upholding a Supreme Court or a federal court or an Article 3 court decision. If he's not following that, we're in violation of the Constitution under Article 3. So your question is, what would you do about it? And that answer needs to be, well, if he's in violation of his oath to the Constitution, my oath that I took in Congress requires me to uphold the Constitution. And under Article 1, it means articles of impeachment would need to be sent to the floor. And then we would also need to have a trial over in the Senate. Now, if their answer is, well, I just don't know what I would do, that's a red flag, right? Basic understanding of the Constitution. If you violate that Constitution and you are the president or a Supreme Court justice, articles of impeachment, it's time to impeach. The Founding Fathers wrote impeachment into the articles so many times to remind everybody that if the president or someone who has a position of power is in violation of the U.S. Constitution, you got to get rid of them. That's what you have to do. That's how Madison and Hamilton and all of the Founding Fathers set it up. You screw it up like this, dudes, you don't follow this Constitution, you're gone. Now, again, you're like, well, my representatives would just do whatever it is that Mr. Trump wants to do. And if that's true, they are in violation of their own oaths. And then the question becomes, well, how do we get rid of a congressional representative or a Senate who's violating their oath to the Constitution and violating the Constitution itself by not doing your duty of pulling in an impeachment situation? And see what their answer is. Now, I'm not going to say their answers are going to be great or you're going to feel better about the situation, but I think posing that question to your representatives and your senators, really asking them that, hey, what happens if Mr. Trump doesn't follow a federal order? What's going to happen? That's your question. And if they don't have a clear, well, no matter what happens, my number one priority is to the Constitution and the people that elected me. Yeah, it's pretty suspicious and there could be some trouble, everyone. So at the end of the day, everyone's saying, who's going to enforce it? We are. We, the people, are ultimately the ones that enforce it by calling Congress and telling them, you have to uphold the Constitution, even if the president doesn't. And Article 3 requires federal court orders to be followed by the other two branches. And if not, then our impeachment pieces come into play. And if representatives and senators aren't willing to do that, we've got to keep going forward and saying, we the people are acknowledging violations of the Constitution and there's no redress, there's no enforcement. And so now it's time for us to enforce it. I know, not great, but it's the best I can do at the moment. We'll just keep our fingers crossed at this point, but that's pretty much going to be the last hurdle, everyone. If we're in a situation where the president refuses to comply with a federal court order, yeah, it's going to get bad. But don't worry, I'll get the bunker ready.